You're watching NBC 23.
Well, attendance numbers have dropped for public schools across the valley coming out of the pandemic. Coming up, parents can help change that. And Hamilton Hall at Columbia University is no longer being occupied by pro-Palestinian protesters. All the details today. NBC 23 News at midday starts now.
From South Padre Island to Rio Grande City, this is NBC 23 News Midday.
Well, good morning, Valley, and welcome to NBC 23 News now at midday. I'm Danielle Banda, filling in for Jeremiah Marshall. So let's begin. It was another chaotic meeting in Progreso where the city is trying to fill council seats. The city approved a special election on June the 15th to select a new mayor and place seat 3. Now, voters are going to select a replacement for former mayor Gerardo Alanis, who resigned after being arrested on federal drug trafficking charges, as well as city councilman Armando Cavazos, who died in December. Gerardo and his brother Frank are accused of running a drug operation, and Frank is also the assistant city manager. While the city is setting an election, city attorney Javier Villalobos says that deadlines are quickly approaching.
It's going to be a fast process. I think there's about 7-8 days of early vote, and then the election date. Then we don't know. We still don't have the runoff date because it depends how many candidates we have, and we have to consult with Secretary of State.
Candidates for the positions must file ballot applications with the city of Progreso by Monday, May the 6th. And Gerardo Alanis' drug trial could begin July the 8th. The federal drug trafficking case against him is linked to cases in McAllen and in North Carolina. Now, both Gerardo and his brother Frank are charged with conspiracy to possess cocaine with the intent to distribute, but they did plead not guilty. Now, we do have the full story over on our website, valleycentral.com. And residents who live near the Milwhite plant in Brownsville are wondering when a state district judge is going to be making a decision on the future of the company. The city wants the company to shut down if Milwhite does not improve conditions and stop dust from affecting residents' health and property. Now, neighbors like Adlemi Sanchez are concerned that the delays are going to allow Milwhite to avoid penalties. The company was set to complete a wall on the north end to block the dust from entering neighborhoods, but Sanchez says that the company has neglected to do so. So until the recent lawsuits were filed.
This wall that you see behind that's something that started back in 2009. So that tells you that the issue has been happening since or past 2009.
Adlemi says that she and the neighbors were told that the judge's decision would come around April the 8th. The judge said a ruling was going to take some time because of the complexity of the case. All right, Jessica, so I mentioned to you early this morning when I was driving to work, I saw some sprinkles and I kind of got excited because I like the rain, but I know that they're gone now. What happened?
I know. We're not going to have a lot of rain over the next couple of days. That's not the big story. No. The big story is going to be how hot it is. So we got another day with heat. Danielle's actually happy about that. I know some of you guys are. I kind of like when we have those cool offs, but it's also going to be super cloudy. In fact, I think today's going to be the cloudiest day that we've had so far this week. Danielle mentioned that we are keeping an eye out for sprinkles. Right now, I don't see anything on radar. Again, the bigger theme of today and really over the next few days is just going to be the heat. We're already in the mid to upper 80s, and of course our humidity values are making it feel even hotter than this. 87 in Harlingen, 86 in McAllen, looking to 85 in Weslaco, and that's right now. We're still going to get warmer. Now, winds have really been picking up over the last couple of hours, and we're already seeing wind gusts of 35 miles per hour for South Padre Island, 34 miles per hour for Bayview, 30 miles per hour in Lyford and Raymondville, and 31 miles per hour for Port Mansfield. So far, some of our stronger wind gusts today across the board have been upwards of 30 miles per hour for all of the cities you see listed. That includes Edinburgh and McAllen. So it's breezy for everybody today, not just the coastline. We do not have a wind advisory, though. Do know that. It's just going to be on the breezier side. This afternoon, we'll be back up into the low 90s with partly cloudy skies carrying us through the entire day. It's really going to be mostly cloudy, I believe, at least until later this afternoon into the evening. We do have slight rain chances on the board as well as some other stuff in the forecast, so stay tuned. I'll have those details coming up.
Thank you, Jessica. Well, happening today, Brownsville ISD is expected to discuss plans to consolidate its elementary schools. Last month, the Board of Trustees decided to move forward with a plan to consolidate 6 schools into 3, and the move is designed to help the district save money. Students who attend Cromack Elementary will now go to Castañeda Elementary, and Garza Elementary students are going to go to Southmost, while Del Castillo students are going to go to Morningside. Now, the meeting is going to be held at the main office administration building at 4 p.m. And attendance numbers have dropped for public schools across the Rio Grande Valley coming out of the pandemic specifically. Students are getting less class time, and school districts are saying they're getting less money. Brian Svensson explains the funding difficulties that school districts are facing.
1% of attendance higher literally gives us over $1 million. Brownsville ISD Superintendent Jesus Chavez says before COVID, attendance was somewhere around 95%. Today, those numbers are down typically 7 or 8%. Even when attendance numbers are good, the money isn't there. One of the things that all districts across the state are struggling with is balancing their budget with no additional funds from the state. And let me repeat that, no additional funds from the state. During the last legislative session, over $4 billion was approved for school funding. Legislation authorizing that money to be distributed was part of the school vouchers bill pushed by Governor Greg Abbott. That bill failed to pass, and the state is still holding on to those funds. Hence, we haven't received an increase in the basic element of school funding, which is our basic allotment, in 4 years. Chavez also says that because of inflation, those education dollars don't go as far as they used to. He says the district is looking at trimming more than $20 million from next year's budget. The district will have to use some of the money it's built up in the fund balance. We would be able to do better by our students with better attendance because there would be more dollars to invest in education. Chavez says that for every day a student misses school, the district literally loses thousands of dollars.
Thank you, Brian. Well, Brownsville ISD is planning an informational program to educate students and parents about the importance of attendance. Chavez says little things like scheduling medical appointments later on in the day so that students can attend school can help with the attendance rates. And we begin with breaking news overnight. Hamilton Hall at Columbia University is no longer being occupied by pro-Palestinian protesters. New York police moved in and cleared the buildings at the school's request, and at least 100 people were arrested. Now, this comes after the deadline passed for protesters to leave and as demonstrators seized the administration building as a sign of protest to the Israel-Hamas war.
The doors were barricaded with large conference tables, chairs, soda machines, and a flashbang is used to distract individuals so the officers can make entry.
So far, no injuries have been reported. And protests at UT Austin lead to dozens of arrests. This comes as larger gatherings are expected today nationwide, as groups are calling for May Day protests to stand with Palestine. And our Monica Madden digs into the police response at UT Austin compared to other Texas campuses.
Tuesday's calm on UT Austin's campus, marking a stark difference from Monday's unrest, where police arrested 79 people.
From the start, I did not think we would be met with this much police presence, especially because all we were doing as students was expressing our First Amendment rights.
Demonstrators like Raneem, a junior on campus, blame the police, not the protesters, for the clashes.
All the violence and chaos that we saw on Wednesday and yesterday was incited by this institution and by the police.
It's a different story for some of the Jewish students.
I'm very grateful that UT brought in the police and had our backs and made sure that we were all safe.
Saying police prevented escalation and encampments, which are in violation of UT rules.
A lot of the stuff that's happening at other schools just goes untouched.
Protests like these have popped up on other state campuses around Texas, but didn't incite the same response. We asked law enforcement experts why.
The law enforcement officers or agencies want to be involved in it right away, but they do need to plan and be prepared.
Dr. Roy Taylor, the chief of Capitol Police in Raleigh, says it's a delicate balance of being prepared but not escalating.
Start out with officers and regularly attired uniforms so that we're not escalating the situation. We're not coming in full riot gear and armored vehicles.
Experts say it can be a combination of factors, but a university memo we obtained showed they wanted significant police presence in order to prevent the chaos that we're seeing on other campuses across the nation. Local advocates say officers did what was necessary.
The deployment of this type of force is used when there is intelligence that is gathered, again, mostly open source, that there are threats to the university.
Questions police will continue to wrestle with as more protests are expected Wednesday.
And Senator John Cornyn issued a statement on the ongoing protests in Austin. The statement read in part, quote, "There is a clear line between protesting and rioting and an even clearer line between free speech and violence. The right to protest is fundamental to our democracy, but it does not grant anyone the ability to say or do whatever they want," end quote. Now, some of you may be asking, when is protesting considered free speech? Well, freedom of speech and assembly means that people can engage in symbolic actions and can arrange peaceful marches and peaceful protests on certain public lands. Now, protections for free speech are broad and can include controversial viewpoints, but they do not extend to threats of harming another person, inciting violence, or destruction of public property. Other unprotected acts include unlawful conduct like sit-ins or traffic blockades. The Justice Department is set to make a major change in federal restrictions on marijuana. How this affects those